Mayor Froese, we do have quorum now.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll now bring the regular meeting of Township of Langley Council for the purpose of a public hearing and development permits to order. And the first item is the preamble. A public hearing is a statutory requirement under Section 464 of the Local Government Act. It must be held before a third reading of a community plan, rural land use bylaw, zoning bylaw, land use contract amendment bylaw, heritage designation bylaw, or heritage revitalization agreement bylaw, which would change the use or density of use of property. During a public hearing, Council acts in a quasi-judicial role for the purpose of allowing persons who believe their interest in property is affected by a bylaw, permit, or other matter to make representations to Council, either orally or by written submission, or add comments or elaborate upon correspondence that may have already been presented to Council concerning the bylaws. It is important to note that Council is not in a position to receive any additional information on the bylaws following the public hearing as dictated by case law. The hearing procedure involves an explanation from the Community Development Division on the purpose of the proposed bylaws and to hear from individuals regarding the bylaws. In order to ensure that all interested parties have a reasonable opportunity to be heard, speakers are requested to keep representations as brief and succinct as possible and no longer than 5 minutes, excluding time required for questions from Council. Speakers will be asked to state their name, neighborhood, and city for the record, and if referring to prepared remarks, to submit copies of these to the Township Clerk. Decorum must be maintained at all times. This includes refraining from applause, booing, or heckling. To assist with large numbers of speakers, individuals must advise the Township Clerk and sign the speakers list prior to the commencement of the public hearing. The names on the speakers list will be read out during the hearing. Individuals who have already addressed Council and wish to add further submissions will wait until the people that have not yet addressed Council have had an opportunity to speak. All submissions and speakers lists are considered part of the public record. Council members should not express their views nor debate the bylaws, but may question speakers to clarify particular points in the submissions. Council may consider third reading and final adoption at this meeting or at its next regular meeting to be held on Monday, January the 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Fraser River Presentation Theatre, 4th floor, 20338 65 Avenue, Langley, British Columbia. So with that, I would ask for a motion to adopt and receive the agenda items. Councillor Arneson, second by Councillor Long. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Thank you. If there are no development permits, we go to the public hearing, of which there are two. We'll start with C1, and this is the official community plan amendment and rezoning application number 100206 and development permit application numbers 101198 and 101290. This is Qualico Developments Incorporated. That'd be bylaw number 5747 and bylaw number 5748. So I'll ask Mr. Richardson to give us the background on it.
Thank you, Worship. The subject Yorkson Neighborhood Plan Amendment, rezoning, and development permit applications pertain to a proposed development consisting of 4 single-family lots at 7711 206 Street. The overall 2.34 acre site is designated mixed residential and greenway in the Willoughby Community Plan and mixed residential and greenway in the Yorkson Neighborhood Plan. This air photo depicts the site located on the west side of 206 Street, north of 76th Avenue. Proposed Yorkson Neighborhood Plan Amendment Bylaw 5747, due to pocket park and greenway requirements off the site, proposes to decrease permitted density from 8 to 10 units per acre to 6.2 units per acre and modify unit type requirements to provide one detached single-family unit type. Rezoning Bylaw 5748 rezones the subject site from suburban residential SR2 to residential zone R1A, residential compact loans zones RCLA and B to accommodate the proposal. Development permit 101198 requires an exterior design control agreement for the proposed single-family lots. Development permit 101290 accommodates consolidation of existing watercourses in 206th Street into a north-south aligned habitat corridor within the 206th Street road alignment consistent with the Yorkson Neighborhood Plan. This slide indicates the proposed site plan with vehicle access to the lots proposed from 77A Avenue. Staff recommends support of Yorkson Neighborhood Plan Amendment Bylaw 5747 and rezoning Bylaw 5748, subject to 9 conditions and Council's consideration of development permits 101198 and 101290, subject to 3 and 4 conditions respectively, listed on page 7 of Council's agenda. Your Worship, a total of 31 notices were mailed out, 6 written submissions have been received, And we have one individual note on the speakers list. Cam Graywall, Your Worship.
All right, thank you. All right, so at this point, Mr. Graywall, sorry, I didn't know it was Cam Graywall, I thought it was Mr. Mrs.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilor. My name is Kamaljeet Graywal. I'm residing at 20645 78th Avenue, but my property is south on the subject that is being proposed today for a public hearing. My question is, like, they have 30-meter wide greenway and habitat coming along all this time, and now is cut to 5-meter. We don't, like, I have questions that why are we changing the rules for this project when we had 30-meter along habitat and greenway coming all the way. And another thing is, as you can see, global warming is changing. What happened in Abbotsford, the people who represent the environmental report is not living locally. We've seen the changes for the ever since we're living in here. So the township should consider changing the greenway to better and it's extended to 30-meter, which is originally was planned. Why are we changing the plan for this project only? This project has never considered for public input, and they just rushed it too fast, and we weren't included in there. And then also they have a put 76 like a road into my property. That's taking a huge impact on my property. They're having both road into my halfway, like halfway this side, halfway that side. And then I was told by a lot of councilor here, the road should be shared with the property with one another. So everything is going into my property like a road. And then if you decided to stay the greenway or whatever they're doing right now, I want to surety whenever I do my application in the near future, I should not be pushed by city councilor or mayor or staff that Pocket Park should be moved to my property. I don't want that moving the Pocket Park in near future into my property, not even 1 inch. I want a surety from the staff and from the councilor and the mayor that I shouldn't be having to build another Pocket Park. And now there's not many residents living in this area. A lot of people will be moving in the near future. They will be asking for the bigger Pocket Park. Now the requirement is to must have 1 acre, and they're having less than, it's 0.9 acre for the Pocket Park. 0.7, my bad. So they're cutting the Pocket Park way less. When everywhere I visit, it's almost like above 1 acre. We need a greenway, we need a pedestrian walk, we need for the kids play area. And we also care about our kids. If they have wildlife walking right next to it, who's gonna protect if the wildlife's gonna attack the kids? Like parents, like I get it, parents will be there, but the kids, we're all putting kids and the senior into risk. We should be considering this, for better proposal, please. And also I have questions, like why are we putting habitat? I saw at the meeting last time we were here, all the habitats being killed because of our human. We're the worst animal on the planet. We're taking over the wildlife's houses. The Pocket Park is being built on greenway. Are you gonna pass this?
You are on risk.
Okay, thank you. Are you finished your
You
submission?
guys taking your own risk to build this Pocket Park. Thank you.
Thank you. I have 2 questions of clarification from council. I'll start with Councilor Ferguson.
Mrs. Gruwell, you're at 20645 78th
That's
Avenue?
where I live. but my
Okay,
property is
is-
on 20577 76 Avenue.
Now, I want you to look on the map. Is the subject property going over the road close to your house there?
Yes.
Does it include any of your house? I'm trying to understand the map. Maybe it's-
20577, they're building the road into my property.
The 76A.
Yes, so they're building 76A. Before it was going straight close to it, and it was 76B was. Now they're making another road which is called 76A, and the both road is going into my property.
I'll need to clarify. We're not here to answer the question. We're just here to ask.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
And you've been to enough meetings to know that. Now, my next thing is you've had a submission, council should be aware, in the items for information today, you've got a submission, which is, I guess, a 2-page submission for us. Mm-hmm. It may be longer, 4. Anyway, and I have had an opportunity to see. So that's your residence, that's it on the map, and that's your submission for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Richter.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding where Ms. Graywall's property is. Is it the one that's right below the red subject property?
Yes, south. Yes, 20577 south.
Okay,
And then we are not going to clean up the developer mess. If they leave a mess for us to, after the pocket park is now being house built, we're not here to like a clean up their mess. They should take care of their mess along with them. They should take care of
Okay.
it before they leave.
Okay.
They can have built and leave. We're the one
Okay.
who's stuck with it.
Okay, Miss, Councilor Richter had asked you a question, you answered it. You
Thank
don't need
you.
to go
yeah,
on other.
I just have one more question relative to her answer, Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
but
yes,
I
please go ahead.
think, I actually think staff may have to answer it.
Okay,
When I look at the map on page 13, it looks like the pocket park could possibly extend into her property. Is that the intent?
perhaps staff or the proponent will have an opportunity to respond to the concerns raised by the submission. So then maybe perhaps if you ask that question, we can ask that to the proponent, if that's okay. And then after that, we can ask staff.
Okay, or I could just wait and ask staff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
yeah. We'll let the proponent address that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there are no further questions, so thank you very much. I'll now ask for any further submissions from the public for public hearing C1, which is bylaw 5747 and 5748, development permit applications 101198 and 101290. Are there any further submissions from the public? And for a second time, any submissions from the public regarding C1? And for a third time, any further submissions from the public regarding C1? I don't see any further submissions. Is that correct, Ms. Bauer?
That is correct, Your Worship.
Thank you. Okay, I'll close the public portion of the submissions off now, and we'll ask if the proponent wishes to respond to the concerns raised by any of the submissions.
Good evening, Your Worship, Mayor and Council. My name is James Pernew. I'm a planner with McElhinney, and I'm representing the project here this evening. Our address is 13150 102nd Avenue, Surrey, BC. And I just wanted to make a small comment on some of the points that were brought up previously by the previous delegation. I do understand, and I've talked to them on many occasions, and have a sense of where they're coming from. One of the things that they had mentioned was a concern with respect to the extension of the pocket park, or the potential for the extension of the pocket park to the south. And I just want to sort of reiterate to Mayor and Council that part of the reason why we located it and did it in that fashion was to avoid any potential impacts on the lands to the south. That would be the lands that the previous delegation referenced at 70677 78 Avenue. So that was done for a particular purpose and reason, and that was to sort of reduce or avoid any unnecessary future impacts. The idea here was to try to consolidate the pocket park into 1 acre. It is 1 acre for 1,032 square meters in area, and have that set aside and assigned and put into place. So hopefully the hope was that that would simplify the development parameters and approaches and issues for the lands to the south, which would be kind of the the last remaining piece on that quadrant to move forward. So taking the pocket park out of the equation for that land, I think, in my mind, is a benefit to them. The ecological greenway and there's an underground wildlife tunnel. There's a confluence of the 206 Street Avenue, median boulevard, creek replacement, the underground tunnel, and all that had to be coordinated all together with the pocket park. So we see the pocket park as a transition to a more environmental use. If you look at the landscape plans, which I believe were in the council package, you can see the transition with additional trees being saved at the north end to transition to a more environmental feeling environment from the pocket park aspect. So it's a bit of a blend of the two. I feel it's an effective and efficient use of land in this particular area when we're trying to also avoid impacts in multiple properties. So that's all I have to add. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you for that. Councillor Richter.
Yeah, I believe that a question was raised with regards to the size of the pocket park in this application being only 0.7 of an acre instead of a full acre. I'm just wondering why.
The pocket park itself is 1.0 acres or 4,032 square meters. So it does meet the minimum direction provided for by York's and neighborhood plan policy.
Okay, so it will be an acre and it will be included on the subject site.
Correct.
And the subject site, and it's not going to go down to the property below it at all.
No, that's not the intent in the plan here. So we're looking at combining the ecological greenway with 1 acre of land for parks. So point is correct that the ecological greenway has been blended into the area a little bit, but there's a transition between the future Spearworks in 206 Street, the wildlife tunnel, and everything's just coming together at a confluence of environmental stuff and pedestrian network stuff all at the same place. So that's what we felt was the best solution. We worked very closely with staff through a number of different options and different approaches and came to a conclusion with the assistance of staff, and it did take some time to get there, that this was of a number of different options we looked at, probably the best for the area in a sense.
Okay, and I had a question with regards to your 4 units that are being proposed. What will be the total population in those units?
They're a standard compact lot, so I would imagine they would be, as we'd normally estimate, 3-4 people per household, somewhere in that range. They're, on the sort of the spectrum, they're compliant with the bylaw, but they're on the smaller side of the spectrum. They're not necessarily oversized, if you will. So I would say probably in that range.
Okay, and are suites anticipated as well, or just single family?
They're, as I understand, through the general provisions of land lease policies and bylaws, I think suites are permitted. The design guidelines that are put in place, exterior control guidelines, aren't really set up, with that in mind. So I'm sort of between a rock and a hard place on that answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Pernew, for coming this evening. I wanted to ask you, the map here, maybe it's not a very good rendering. Is some of that subject on the Grewell's property on this map?
It should not be. I don't know if Mr. Richardson is able to show a previous layout that he had on the screen. There we go. So there's a sort of a thin band of very lightly shaded green behind the 4 lots you're referencing. Mm-hmm. That would be the remnant of the ecological greenway. You can see the wildlife tunnel. Its current alignment to the east kind of smacks kind of right there at a, what would otherwise be ecological greenway. But the thought being with trying to combine functionality here with a limited amount of land, it was important and essential to us to come up with a solution that established the 1 acre pocket park size without potential, risk or opportunity for expansion to the south. That's not part of the plan as I understand the policy. I think it's been satisfied in terms of area. So I don't expect a need for any expansion to the south. I believe through this, the requirements have been satisfied.
Yeah, and I imagine, Mr. Purnew, you had your public information meeting as well.
Yeah, we had that about 6-7 weeks ago or so. There wasn't millions of people. It was done as a virtual engagement. I believe that some of the same sort of points and questions that have been raised this evening are consistent with what I heard at the public engagement meeting. I guess I don't know how often I get an opportunity to reiterate the sort of the intent of what we've done here, in particular for an potentially impacted or impactable lands to the south. You'll notice the majority of the north-south road is positioned on the adjacent in-stream application. It's not a symmetric dedication. The east-west connection that was referenced, we think, based on discussions and understanding from traffic engineering staff at the township, that connection is essential. The reality is sort of every piece is getting a chunk of probably east-west road in this particular area. If you look at the subject site itself, it has a road going through the top. But I think the big item here is that the pocket park risk or possibility, I'm hoping, is through this application kind of put to bed, so to speak.
Okay, and it'll be up to council members to double check with staff. It's not up to you to be able to answer questions that are not pertinent. My last thing is, in your public, and it's difficult, it's not your fault, the public information meetings are done virtual now and people can't physically see on things. They do the best they can. My last thing, you're just responsible, I guess, for a number of properties had to contribute to the pocket park. That's the way it kind of works within a developing area?
There will be I guess a latecomer type of arrangement for the area. That does not go towards the acquisition of the park land. That's a different formula for compensation through the neighborhood plan itself. What's involved is the servicing works on future 206 Street. There'll be an extension of sanitary, storm and water to the south. That will be on the frontage of the park, which doesn't really necessarily need it. I guess maybe water for a water fountain and irrigation. Those services extend from the north to the south, provides sort of a connection point at the north end of the corner lot, the previous delegations' lands that they own. So it extends that work down there so they don't have to do it themselves in Lakecomer, the pocket park lands. So it's kind of the second to last piece in that particular servicing puzzle.
Thank you, Mr. Purnew. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Councilor Richter?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I had a procedural question for you with regards to the correspondence that council received on this property. And I would really like to refer that correspondence to staff for a report back. And I think, as I mentioned to you earlier, I would have done it in the open meeting, but we didn't finish our open meeting in time. But I would like for council to get a response from staff on that correspondence, because there are some very important issues raised in it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bauer, or what would be the process for that? Should it be a motion to refer that to staff to provide a report back prior to third reading?
If council would like a response on it, it would be best a motion that refers it back to staff for a response.
Okay, I would make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a seconder? And I can't see hands, so maybe the screen can come down to full gallery again. Who's seconding it?
Councillor Ferguson is, sir.
Councilor Ferguson seconds. Thank you. Any discussion, Councilor Richter? And then I have Davis. Councilor Richter, did you wish to?
Yeah, I'm really quite concerned about the non-fish friendly channels or culverts or something that have been put in place, and I think that needs to be rectified before anything else moves forward.
Okay, thanks. Councilor Davis?
Okay, we're on. I'm confused. This was a public hearing. Do we not do the public hearing first
Yeah,
and
well,
then we vote if we can talk about it?
No, so all this is a referral for some of the submissions to get some more information from staff. So I've checked
But
with
that's
staff.
an action
and
plan.
that's
That's
appropriate.
an action thing. That's appropriate?
I'm sorry, Councilor Davis, I've asked staff to clarify, and I was told that that would be the process to go. I'm happy to do anything else, but the staff have advised me that just to get information back on a submission, a motion to staff to get that back. We're not acting on it. We're just asking for further clarification from staff, which is
So-
appropriate in this
So
matter.
then the public hearing will be closed till we get that information back?
No, the public hearing will be closed right after this. And then then it's up to us to understand the submissions. And if we need assistance in
okay.
understanding the
Okay,
submissions,
thank you.
then staff will provide that for us. We're not asking for new information. Hopefully that clarifies. Okay, I'll call the question on the referral of the information to staff. All those in favor? And I don't see all the hands yet. So anybody opposed? I
No,
think
sir,
that,
no one's opposed.
okay, thank you. It carries unanimously. With that, I'll call public hearing C1 is closed, and we move on to public hearing C2. Just get caught up on my agenda here. Here we go. And this is land use contract discharge and rezoning application number 100588. It's McTaff Properties Limited at 6897 Glover Road and 21690 Smith Crescent is bylaw 5745 and bylaw 5746. I'll turn it over to Mr. Richardson.
Well, thank you, Worship. The subject land use contract discharge and rezoning applications pertain to a 9.73 acre site at 6897 Glover Road and 21690 Smith Crescent. The site is designated industrial in the official community plan, agricultural countryside in the rural plan, and is regulated by Land Use Contract 31. This air photo depicts a subject site located on the west side of Glover Road at Smith Crescent. Bylaw 5745 discharges Land Use Contract 31. Bylaw 5746 rezones the site to Comprehensive Development Zone 167 to formalize uses currently permitted on the site and accommodate additional industrial uses. Staff recommends support of Land Use Contract Discharge Bylaw 5745 and rezoning Bylaw 5746, subject to 6 conditions listed on page 10 of Council's agenda. Your Worship, a total of 69 notices were mailed out, 1 written submission has been received, and there were no individuals noted on the speakers list.
Okay, thank you for that. I will now ask for submissions from the public for public hearing C2. It's land use contract discharge and rezoning application number 100588, bylaw 5745, bylaw 5746. And I'll ask for second time submissions from the public for public hearing C2. And for a third time, any submissions from the public for public hearing C2.
There are no submissions, sir. Oh,
I'm sorry, there are
yes,
no?
there is. There's one coming down
There's
right
one
now.
submission. Okay. Yeah. Wait, please step forward. If you can give your name and neighborhood where you live, please.
Yes, good
you'll
evening,
have 5
Mayor and
minutes.
Council. My name is Earl Mufford, and my address is 21499 Crush Crescent in Langley. My wife and I also own 21533 Crush Crescent, and that property borders the development on the southwest side. I would like to say that the current owners have been good neighbors. I also would like to say I understand why the application is taking place. My concern is about what future owners might do with the property with a comprehensive industrial zone designation and how this could affect our neighborhood. Therefore, I would ask if you could somehow include the restriction clause that was in the original land use contract, number 31, and make it part of the new zoning agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question from Councillor Davis.
Took a long time to get from your seat down to the podium, Earl.
I don't hear very well.
Could you clarify? Could you read out what the restrictions are?
I knew you were going to ask me to do that. It's kind of a little bit convoluted. The restrictions say no use shall be carried on whereby injurious or offensive or disagreeable noise or nuisance shall or may be occasionally caused or made, and then no commercial operation of a retail nature should be carried out on the said lands. I'm not so concerned with that last part of it. It's more along the lines of, just nothing offensive as far as noise and nuisance and stuff like that. I mean, on one side, you've got, quite a few houses on this, I guess would be the southeast side, and I just think that if we could have that in it, it would look after a lot of the broadness of this new zoning. Like, this new zoning seems very broad, and if that could be curtailed a little bit, just kind of a good neighbor policy.
Period. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask for first time for presentation or submissions for the public for public hearing C2. And for a second time, submissions from the public for public hearing C2. And for a third time, submissions from the public for public hearing C2. I don't see any submissions.
Your worship, there's no
correct?
more.
No more, thank you. I will now ask if the proponent wishes to respond to the submissions from the public.
Thank you, Your Worship. Oleg Verbenkopf with Pacific Land Group. We're the agents for the project. So I understand what the previous speaker is asking for, and I think all we're trying to do is the existing land use contract permits some light industrial uses, light industrial manufacturing, as well as storage and warehousing. And so what we've done is we've selected for the CD zone the uses out of the M2 zone that reflect those two uses. I presume the concern would be with regard to any storage of industrial or chemicals or byproducts or that sort of thing. And the wholesaling and the warehousing provision in the draft land use contract does restrict that. So in terms of any offensive or disagreeable noise or nuisances, I don't think there'd be an issue in placing a covenant on the land to restrict any use that would require a metro, for example, a metro permit for air quality. I don't think that's a problem. Basically, all the uses that we're asking for would be related to the permitted business that's on the site now and similar type uses. So I'm not sure I can offer anything else, but we've thought about that concern, given that the property is surrounded by the ALR.
Okay, thank you. I've got a question for Councilor Richter. Councilor Richter?
Yes, thank you. And I don't know, maybe the proponent can't answer this, maybe staff might have to, but is there any legal reason why we couldn't include the restriction clause referred to by the earlier speaker that's in the original land use contract in whatever we're approving right now?
Before I go to staff, I think we could. One way, Councilor Richter, would be to actually consider this for third reading tonight and then refer it to staff to respond to the concerns of the submissions and then bring it back to us for third reading. That might be one way to get that information from staff, but I'll ask staff if they can respond to your question.
Okay, but don't we have to have a vote if we're going to deal with it tonight?
Yeah, we would have to go through that process, but I'm just saying that's one way that we could.
Okay.
To consider it and then refer it to come back. So we're not actually, that's one way we could do it without passing it tonight, is just getting that exactly what you're asking for and have staff bring it back. Okay. And we could do that tonight or next night, but that would be a way of doing it. Okay. Perhaps Mr. Richardson, do you have any comments on that?
Thank you, Worship. Preliminarily, from my review and staff's review of land use contracts, that was a standard language used at that time for industrial type uses. As the proponent has indicated, they're potentially stating that they would provide or offer a restrictive covenant to restrict uses that would require a Metro Vancouver air quality permit. That's, as I understand, what the proponent has noted. Currently, the Township's community standard bylaw would cover such nuisance type items as well as noise type items, rather than the land use contract. So the Township's community standards bylaw would likely prevail in that circumstance, unless, as the proponent has indicated, there wanted to be further restrictions on there in terms of those items that would be over and above the Township's community standards bylaw.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any further questions? Okay, I will now close public hearing C2, and I will ask, and if Mr. Richardson, if you could take down the screen, please, so I can see council. Great, thank you. I will ask council if they wish to consider third reading at this meeting, and then you can refer it back. Is there a motion? Councilor Long, do you wish to move?
So this is on the first one, right, Your Worship?
No, it's on the second one. The first one, we've actually asked for some information to come back before third reading. So
Oh,
this
so
is
we
on
could-
C2.
Well, I thought we could still move the first one as well and then have staff come back with that, no?
I suppose we could. Yeah, I don't see why not.
So that's where I'm going with that one, with the first
Okay,
one.
because it's kind of this. Okay, why don't we do that? I'm agreeable to what council wishes. So, Council Long, did you wish to move the first one for consideration?
I'm
for third reading?
moving third reading on the first one.
Okay, on C1,
See what happens.
is there a seconder?
No.
I don't see a seconder. So we're going to move to the C2. Is there a motion to move C2 for consideration for third reading tonight? Councilor Whitmarsh moves it. Councilor Davis seconds it. I will just call the question. All those in favor and opposed? Okay, I have 3 opposed. Councilor Woodward, Councilor Arneson, Councilor Richter. So that is a 5-3. So that fails. Is that correct, Ms. Bauer?
Carries.
It carries, sir. That's 2/3.
Oh, carries.
6-4.
Okay, I thought we'd need two-thirds. That's appropriate. Okay. It's my cold. I can't do math tonight.
Only 8.
Or maybe any night. Okay, so we now have
I'm
third
sorry,
reading.
sir. Councillor Kuntz just left, and I didn't account for that. So it would be,
It's a 5-3
it's a 5-3, which is,
fail.
that would be a fail. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay, there we go. All right, so that fails. So that's mute then. So now I will now close the public hearing and ask for a motion to terminate. Seconder? Councilor Arneson, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Well, I'll take a minute to go back to our regular afternoon meeting.
Thanks for playing, Stephen. Run away home quick, fast.